business side of teaching. It's software as a service product that I started back when I was a piano teacher and wanted just to create something for me to keep track of my piano students better. And then later realized that it would be useful for other teachers, so I made it available and just continued growing it. And several years later, we now have several thousand customers around the world and a team of 20 people helping me run the company. And it's doing great, funding all our travel lifestyle.
I'm Amanda Blizzard. I do a lot of different things to make money. I mostly sell on eBay and sell stuff on Facebook, buy sell groups. And then when we're back in Alberta a couple of times a year, I'm a chef, so I pull in temp jobs wherever I can.
Sure. So I'm Jim Flannery. Started 3 companies, and I also do freelance web development. So that's, I guess, being like a freelancer is like a version of being an entrepreneur, and I've also done startups, which is like a different kind of style of entrepreneurship. And actually the one that I'm currently working on is in education, and that's what's brought me here, to learn as much as I can about unschooling.
Is there any questions?
What did you guys have jobs before you became, like, you were a music teacher at school, or?
I taught private piano lessons out of my home part-time since I was like 16. So that was just kind of more of a hobby project, a passion project. But I had also been programming since I was 12. So I love computer programming, and that's what I was going toward as a career when I started the business. I was actually working doing internet tech support, earning $10 an hour in a call center when I started the business. And then I got a job as a programmer after I'd made it for me, but before I turned it into a business. They saw that I created this, and that helped me get a job even before I graduated. So I was working full-time as a programmer for a few years, and then once the business reached a point where I felt like I could quit the job, I did.
I'm a chef, so I've been working in the kitchen for 18, 16 years, something like that. From there, I got burnt out because that's really easy to do in the kitchen. And I did MLM for a few years, so like multi-level marketing. I sold Tupperware, I sold coffee, I've sold health products, I've sold corn, hobs of corn, I did farmers markets, and I've basically been my own boss for about 7 years now, and just kind of found different things that suited me for the season. And some I kept up with for a few years because they did really well. Some were just summer jobs, like the corn selling was 8 weeks a year, so I was able to go in and work 12 hours a day for 8 weeks and then move on to something else.
Cool. I have had regular jobs before, but I got into being an entrepreneur. I was a senior in college, and I studied biomedical engineering. And I thought that it was interesting. That's why I was learning about it. But I never fully got like, well, what do you do when you are one? But then my senior year of college, there was a class I took called Intellectual Assets, which is about creativity, inventing, getting a patent, and starting a business. And it was when I took that class when I was like, I get it. I want to be an inventor. That's why I want to be that's what it's all about. And in that class, I learned that today, in 2016, being an inventor meant being an entrepreneur. So I went to a friend of mine who was also an engineer who was minoring in business. I was like, dude, I'm taking this class, and we're learning about like this process of creating and getting an idea and starting a business. Let's just do it. And so we did like the most, we got together every Friday for 4 or 5 weeks. We'd set all right, 3 hours to brainstorm ideas and what to do. And then eventually we took one and ran with it. It's just like a very conscious decision. Let's do this. It didn't happen, I guess, by accident. Yeah.
So it's that big jump, though, that you guys all kind of had to, decide that's it, no more day-to-day, you have to jump into being this business. That's a big step.
Well, for me, it wasn't such a jump because I just kind of created my business on the side. I was still working And there wasn't really any risk because I created it myself. I didn't have to get investors or hire anybody to make it for me. And I would get up early in the mornings. I was excited about it, and I would stay up late at night and work on it. But it was really just for me. And I think that's something I hear a lot with a lot of entrepreneurs who create successful businesses. A lot of it is just scratching their own itch. They're making something that is useful for them, and then usually if you create something that's useful for you, it's useful for somebody else in the world too. So that's where I started, but I didn't make the jump from quitting my job until my business was financially successful enough that I felt safe doing it. It wasn't like I was earning, I think, 60 grand a year at my programming job. It was kind of entry level. But my business was only bringing in around $1,500 a month. So it wasn't like as much as I knew I'd be taking a huge pay cut when I quit. But doing so gave me the freedom to put more time and effort into the business. And now it's just grown way, way more than that.
Were you an unschooler when you were a kid?
I was not. I just loved pianos and computers.
Was anyone else an unschooler when you were a kid?
I was very reluctantly schooled until I was 15. I was a teen mom, so I got pregnant at 15, and then from there I attended school for 6 months until I had my son. He attended school with me for a couple months till the semester ended. And then I did outreach, so literally school at home, and I did my work sitting on the couch while taking care of him, and then until I graduated.
I went a fairly traditional path until I got out of college. And, like you mentioned the leap. For me, when I was a senior in college, people were like, "Oh my God, am I gonna get a job?" And a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to graduate school just because I don't know what to do." And I was like, no. When I started the idea of doing a business, it was like the middle of my fall semester, my senior year. So we just said, we're going to do this, we'll figure it out. We were looking at, we were totally unschooled. We were like, how do we do this? What do we find out? Do we take this class? Like I was skipping my regular classes to go duck into classes about entrepreneurship and stuff. So you're always like looking and trying to learn it. But I did have a little taste of unschooling when I was younger because I taught myself all about computers and how to write code when I was like young. I was like 10 years old building websites. And I was even making money off some of them, which is kind of really funny looking back. And then the irony is that when I was in high school and you go to your guidance counselor, who I probably saw like 4 times and wrote something snarky in my letter of recommendation, it's all right. She said, well, I was like, I want to do computers. That's what it's about. I love computers. I'm going to do it. I don't really like the equipment. I like software, so I'm going to do that. And she goes, well, Jim, a lot of those jobs are going overseas to India these days, and you don't seem like the kind of person that wants to be strapped to a desk. So, like, maybe you want to look into something else. I was like, oh, shit. Like, ooh, that sounds... So then I kind of got exposed to this biomedical engineering thing. Now, I'm really glad I loved studying that stuff. It's great, but it's funny that now today I make a living as a web developer, which is something I started to teach myself when I was 10, and then I took like 7 years off. I was doing other things, and I came back to it.
And for me, I didn't, I studied computer programming in college, but it was really a waste of time, and because I already kind of knew how to do it from learning on my own. And I think learning on your own, especially something like programming, is more efficient just doing it that way if you're going to college for it.
Yeah, I told one of the kids that was on the teen panel, he's like, yeah, I was interested in learning programming, but he's like, I took a book and I was like, I just couldn't do it. And I remember one time when I was a kid getting a book on programming, and I was just like, I can't do this. Like, you can't learn to program just for the sake of learning to program.
No, you gotta have a project in mind.
Like, I want to build this, so damn, I gotta learn to write, to program. It's like, I think I told him I was like, you gotta find a project, because it's like, if you were to learn to walk just to walk, like, I don't know, that would suck. But if you're like, I want to go over there, and I can't get there unless I learn to walk, you'll learn to walk a lot faster. And it's
yeah. It was the same for me with starting a business. It wasn't that I studied how to create a business. I just realized I want to turn this product into a business, and it was a crash course, and I I had to figure things out, but I did read books, and I was interested in, at that point, learning how to do it, and I knew nothing about marketing or sales or design or any of those things, but I learned. I just figured it out and Googled a lot and tried stuff and found what didn't work and tried more stuff, and over the course of years it paid off.
Yeah, I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur at all. If you ask, when I was in college, I remember looking at the people that were studying business, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? You chose to do that? Like, really? You're that uninteresting that you just said, I want to do the thing that makes money? Like, wait. And then sure enough, here I end up going that route because I wanted to make something that wouldn't be there if it wasn't for me. And it takes tools to do that, and I learned that, oh damn, I don't know anything about business. So, hey, remember how I was talking to you? Do you mind helping me with something? I got this idea, and it's funny, I still kind of refer back to some of those people, but I think the difference is that a lot of them are in business, and some of them have started companies, and they're not necessarily happy because they're in companies where they decided to get into that business. I'll give you an example, purely because of a monetary thing. Like I have a friend who does corporate housing. So corporate housing means if you're working in a company, you're gonna go live somewhere for more than 30 days. You don't just get a hotel each night. They line you up like a long-term stay, right? So he's in that business. And he got into it because he was like learning what do you make money, just kind of purely with business in mind. But now he's got this company he's been doing for years and he hates it. He goes, dude, I want to get out of this. But he's like, I got to try to sell my business because I don't want to do this anymore. He's like, I'm just booking hotel rooms. He's like, this is not a business I want to be in. I was like, well, dude, that's what you signed up for, I guess I never got into it for that type of reason, yeah.
Do you have a traditional house? Or are you just always on the road?
For me, I am nomadic. I don't have a traditional house. We sold our house in 2009 when we decided to travel full-time. We did actually end up, though, getting a long-term lease on a property in Bali, which we now rent out on Airbnb as a vacation rental. So we do have that place to go back to if we want to. But only for 13 years, because you can't buy property in Bali. You can only do long-term lease. Sorry? The Balinese landowner. All land in Bali is owned by Balinese people. So I leased it from him. And the house is mine, I guess, but the land is his, so it's all his. Yeah, for 13 years. And I can extend that if I want. So I guess as an entrepreneur, I'm also a property owner as an entrepreneur, right? I mean, it's an income source for me. And it's been an effective one, I think. The property in Bali, this house, we rented it for like $5,000 a year. 3-bedroom place, jungle views, really beautiful. And then we put in about $200,000, which is a lot more than I was planning on. But it's like this luxury. It looks like a multi-million-dollar, it's gorgeous villa in Bali now. And it rents out for around over $300 a night. If it's monthly, it's like, we usually make around $5,000 to $6,000 a month, depending on the season with it. And that is, so hopefully in the next 5 to 7 years, it will have paid off the money I initially put into it, and then everything after that will be profit. And from the numbers I've run, that's a decent ROI for property investment over the course of time.
So what happens when, kind of off topic,
Sure.
after 13 years though, this $200,000 house?
Yes, it's gone. I can either extend the lease, I can pay him another whatever for the land and keep renting, keep using it, or he owns it and he'll really enjoy that property for his family. As an income source, I don't think he'd live there, but in fact he kind of was inspired by the house that I built and realizing that it's possible. So now he actually took yet another, it's kind of, Balinese ethics are a little crazy, but there's this piece of, so we have this beautiful jungle view, right, and the river down below. It's like 10 feet of like, but I guess somehow that wasn't in the lease agreement, that land was mine. So when I was gone and we had people renting, he brought in construction workers, chopped this little thing off, and he like extended it out and pushed the river. And now he's building a house down there at the bottom of the river.
Oh, wow.
Blocking our view, but you don't see it unless you're on the upper floors. because it's kind of down at the base of the river. But anyway, he's planning to rent that out as an Airbnb, earn some money for himself. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's yeah. So he's become an entrepreneur.
So as entrepreneurs, is it, there's always that, I struggle with it, sometimes figure out, is it one source of income? Can you run several businesses without losing your mind?
Absolutely. My business now is to the point where I have a team helping me run it, 20, 25 people now. So I really only work like an hour a day on the business. And it brings in almost $1 million a year at this point. Not that I get, but that's to pay for everything, right? All the staff and everything. So mentally, like I have the time to focus on other things. I am doing a lot of cool passion projects right now. I'm doing a little bit of coaching. I'm going to host a conference next year for traveling families, working on an online course. Real estate investment, sure. But the mental energy that it takes up is still there. It's like even though maybe an hour a day I'm working on the business, like my mind throughout the day is kind of thinking, well, what about this, what about that? So there have been times when even though it's like the 4-hour work week, I've been like, I'm burned out on this business. I just want to be done. I want to sell it. I've had those periods where I just want to be finished. And I probably will sell it at some point. I don't know. But it is definitely possible to do multiple income sources. And I think that's a wise way to go because...
Seems like you do that a lot.
Yeah, that's what
I have probably 8 different cookie jars going at a time. I just don't dive in and go, this is it. I just have a lot of kind of diverse little skills that do a little bit for me here and there. So I just kind of make use of each one as I'm in a place that I can make use of that. So while I'm in Canada and US, I'm really big on eBay. But when I'm in Mexico, their mail system sucks, so I don't do eBay. I'm on Amazon. When I'm in Alberta, I'm doing a lot on Facebook groups. I do garage sales and then kind of repurchasing and buying. I'm right now getting into more of the Amazon sales and kind of purchasing stuff from wholesalers and reselling it. So there's kind of a lot of different things going on because I enjoy that. I really like that. When I'm back in Alberta it works out to be about 2 months a year because my son and I, we travel full time. We have a suitcase as a home. When we're back there, I pull in temp jobs because you make a lot more doing temp work than you do doing a 9 to 5. So I have 8 different places that employ me when I'm there. When I get back and I just send an email and go, I'm here, and then I get jobs and I work full time for a month. And then because we travel to cheaper places, that's able to kind of fulfill a lot of the initial costs. So we're very budget travelers and we enjoy that and it works for us. And so right now, one push while we're traveling, especially in Mexico, is blogging and kind of building the internet side of not necessarily an income, but our interest, because I have a lot of people that ask me how we do what we're doing. So I'm focusing on talking about that and hopefully helping other people realize you can do it as a single mom and it doesn't have to be expensive and it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
What's your website?
Right now, my main one, I'm actually a little bit behind blogging, but my son and I, we're the travelingblizzards.com. And then I'm building another one that will be a focus for teaching the budget travel type stuff is called livecheaptraveloften.com.
Cool.
And then I've got a little side project because I love tacos, so I'm building a taco website. But that one's not out yet.
So what's an example of something that you'd buy bulk and then resell?
So just the most recent kind of funky one, I was in Ontario for the summer and I found a sale on Crayola markers. They were like 60% off. They were like $5 for this great big set. So I went, holy shit. So I went and I bought a few dozen of them and kind of put them all on eBay, and they're getting shipped to Australia and Greece and New Zealand, and people want them.
Do you do FBA?
I haven't yet. That's what I'm right now. I'm doing research. So because we haven't actually had an address or a home for a while, Part of the difficulty with some of that is, so to do the FBA fulfilled by Amazon, what happens there is you send a product and you can send 100 or 200 or 10 or whatever. Send this all into Amazon. Amazon takes care of it all, ships it for you. You do nothing. You've just found the product, sent it, and they take care of it all. But you don't want to send crap products. So it takes research, it takes getting stuff, trial and error, kind of figuring out what's good, using it yourself. I haven't had an address to be able to get something sent to me quite yet to test stuff out. So right now I'm in the midst of the actual internet research. I have stuff on the way to my parents' house, so whenever we make it back there, I'll be able to do research, like the physical, like ripping and tearing and cutting and finding stuff that works for me to sell. And then once I do that, I'll be able to ship stuff off to Amazon and get that sent out.
So right now, who does your shipping?
I do, because I've been in Canada and US since, for a while. We've just been traveling. So I've been doing mostly eBay. And so I found one of the bigger things for me right now is stickers. I find stickers on sale and cheap, and then I kind of package them up, photo, and send them off. They're cheap. People like to spend $1 on things because it doesn't really hit their pocketbook too much. So it's really easy to kind of send those off. But once I'm in Mexico, I won't be doing any of that. I'll be taking 2 months to get caught up on our blogging, get a few websites set up, and just kind of focusing on catching up on some of my interest projects. I also make jewelry whenever I can and put those on eBay and do craft shows. And when I'm back in Alberta, I make chocolate. Like I make chocolate molds and stuff. Yeah, so I have a lot of things going on, but I enjoy it. It's not.
The longer you talk, the more stuff you know.
And I built a spaceship last week.
That's kind of why I jumped on though, because a lot of people think it's like entrepreneurs, I have a business. I don't. I just have a lot of different ways to make money, and you can do that too, right? You can just have things you're kind of good at and find ways to turn that into an income. It can work, and it doesn't have to be one thing.
Yeah, it's very, the definition of entrepreneur, like it's very different ideas of what it is. Like, there's the startup kind of thing where you try to build something massive. There's, I got a buddy of mine who owns a gas station. So he's an entrepreneur, he's self-employed, he runs his own shop. He's got 3 employees, he does that. There's, I think of when I was a kid shoveling driveways.
Yeah.
That's
Dog walking.
there's different kind of
Even a
areas
paper
or
route
aspects
falls
of it.
into that, right?
Yeah, I mean, some of them definitely, there's different styles. Some of them have different responsibilities or different opportunities for money or change or freedom and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that change aspect is probably one of the greatest benefits of it too, because you have the flexibility. Anytime if you lose interest in one of the things you're doing or it dries up, you're just like, you know what, that's cool, I'm going to do something else.
I always say I don't have an income, I just find money.
Right.
I have ways to just go find money. If I'm short this week, even when I had a home, I frequently needed to come up with money, whether it was for rent or to pay off a car or whatever it was, and I just would wake up and go, I'm going to do this week, and I'd work really hard this week, and I'd find a way to make that money. So chocolate's one that I do farmers markets. I love making chocolate. That's such a huge fun passion. So we sit up late for 3 or 4 nights, book into a craft show, and you sell off your chocolate, go on Facebook, sell it off, and it's such a low investment, but I can do that anywhere. So it's kind of just, finding different things in different places.
And I used to really love doing web development, and I did a lot of freelance web design as well, but then eventually I just kind of lost interest in it. Well, I guess at first I started hiring people to help me do it, and then I was babysitting them. It kind of turned into I'm so done looking at code, and so I don't do that anymore, and that's fine.
You really have to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
You're have a really hard time, whether it's creating a business or finding money or creating an income of however you do that, if you hate what you're doing. And so I think that's where a lot of the people get trapped into that 9 to 5. You have to do it because you have to pay bills, you have to have money, but you hate it. So, you really have to enjoy it to make it work and last and serve your purpose. And I can't do one thing. That's why I don't. I'd be bored to tears if I did one
the
thing.
same thing for more than 6 months straight.
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Yeah. I usually go hard.
Yeah.
I go
all
really,
the way
really
in.
hard for 2 months,
Yeah.
and then it's like I haven't heard of it for the next 6 months. But it works.
Jim, what were some of your startups that you did?
Sure. So the first one I had, when I mentioned that Buddy and I got together in college, was we were using light to speed up enzymes that were used to convert cellulose into ethanol. It's like the idea is like, okay, you could take corn, turn corn into sugar, and then sugar into ethanol to make fuel. Back in 2008, there was a lot of money being invested in the idea of taking all plants, like anything green, and turning it into ethanol. And so that they were using enzymes to break down plants, and they were not moving fast enough. So that was kind of a niche that we were trying to address. I mean, that we raised money, we did the research, we followed the process as you're supposed to, but we reached a point where what we were doing on the bench top in a test tube just couldn't be translated to the gigantic tanks that are the size of this building that are being really used in practice. And even after today, there's not very many cellulose to ethanol plants out there. The second company was in LED lighting. And this one kind of, I mentioned like some people get into a business and then they realize like, shit, I want to be in this. That happened to me in a lot of ways with this company. Because this was like 2011 or 12, LED lighting was just starting to come out, and it was going to save all this money on energy, and they last forever and all that. And so there's an opportunity to start a business where we would pay for the lights in a building, like not homes, but in a business, and then the person's energy bill would go down, and then we'd get paid back from that. So me kind of being an engineering background, I was like, yeah, this is great, LEDs is crazy, this is great technology, like loved it, and light is like one of my favorite subjects, I loved it. And I was like, this is amazing, like we pay for it up front, we get paid back, this is like brilliant, like we're gonna change the world, we're gonna, this is like, boom, this is awesome. And then as I got into it, I was like, holy shit, I started a finance company. Like that is not like it just, really? Is that what I do right now? So there was an issue there. And the other thing that happened was we had started that business, and then once I was in LEDs, I learned about these new lights that are coming out, that they shift color as the day goes on. So in the morning there's more blue, and in the evening they take the blue out. So in the morning gives you more energy, makes you awake and alert. You actually read better when there's more blue, and then in the evening you get rid of it, and you can sleep better. So all of a sudden, I was like, that's awesome. This is the coolest stuff. Like, I got a biomedical background. I'm like, this is it. This is it. But it was not matching up with what our business was supposed to be. Like, we don't manufacture, we didn't do that. So what ended up happening, just by weird, stuff happened. I don't even know how to. There was a company that does manufacturing, and they were looking to be bought. And so we, because we were a finance company, had kind of a very American way of buying that company. So we acquired these guys, and they did manufacturing. And so when that happened, I was so excited. I was like, thank God we're not doing finance, we're going to build something, this is great. And I wanted to do that healthy lighting. And then when the acquisition happened, I was no longer necessary in the new enterprise. So it's like kind of like a lot of people say, oh, it's like Steve Jobs, he got kicked out of Apple and he started Apple. Like then you go back and you do this thing, and I'm like, I don't know if it, so far I haven't gone back. And so I mean, the company still exists, like I still like own a piece of it, but they didn't feel there was as much of a need for me. But in a way it was a blessing, because I didn't like the finance side of it. But it sucks, because I really want to do the healthy lighting stuff. And like, for me to go start another company in the space, it's like, what am I, like, going to compete with my other company? And it was kind of like a bad blood thing. So now when I go talk to other businesses that are in that space, like it's kind of a
I'm curious, how was it? I mean, you must have given up a lot of your ownership or equity in the business then, in order for other people to have the authority to kick you out.
Yeah.
How did that work?
So all right. So in our very first company that we had, there was me and two other guys that were working. Sorry, me and one other guy that were working full time in the company. We had another guy who was an advisor, and we had an investor. So that was like 5 people that had stock in our first company. The company that we acquired they were actually a much bigger company than us. I know it sounds strange that the little guy acquired the bigger guy, but they had like 14 employees. They had revenues of like $4 million a year. We were not even near that. And so when we acquired them, part of the deal was that some of their owners and some of ours would come together. So I also, when I did this company, I wanted to be around older people, because in my first business, when it was me and my buddy in college, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And I thought, oh, it'll be good to be around some older people in this business. And that ended up in a lot of ways being what screwed me, because now these older people looked at it like, well, we don't really need him anymore. So when the two companies came together, what I try to do, because I like to think people are well-intentioned, is that nobody was like trying to kick me out, but the people were kind of protecting themselves. And I was also not as assertive as I should have been in this situation. So I let it happen, and I couldn't tell exactly who had screwed me, because there was the guys that I worked with, and then there's this other company. And when they came together, and the final documents are drawn, and I'm looking, and I'm like, wait a minute, like one of my contracts is missing from this. So I'm looking at the company we acquired, thinking, these guys, what did they do? What did these guys do? And I'm losing. And then it turned out that it was actually one of the guys on my side that had, again, like not so much going out of his way to harm me, but more in a way to protect his piece of the pie that screwed me over. Yeah.
That's a tough thing when you get into partnerships and to lose that control. Yeah.
My nephew has a great expression. He says, there's two ships that I don't get on, a sinking ship and a partnership.
Uh-huh.
And he has a good point.
Yeah.
It's like,
I actually did that at one
spot.
point with my business. I had a friend who, I was looking for a programmer at the time. I was very early stage, and he's like, "Oh, I'd love to help you out with that. Let's make me your partner." Fortunately, I consulted an attorney first, and he suggested that when you do, you write a contract that keeps me as the owner and has a clause so that I can still kick him out of the partnership if I wanted to. So we started up doing stuff together, but he just wasn't putting into it what kind of we agreed to, and he wanted to take the company a different direction than I did, and I was starting to see that this really wasn't such a good idea. He was probably seeing an opportunity, but it just wasn't going to work out. So I let him go, and I did have to pay a little to make that happen. I paid him a nice severance, but I kind of learned my lesson that I don't really want to take on any investors. I don't want to take on a partner. I just want to keep the control, because even if it could mean I could scale my business so much more, for me it's not necessarily worth it if I lose my flexibility and my control to be able to.
I feel you in that part,
Sorry?
What about hiring people?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have experience with that? We're at that point, we saw on Amazon. And we're at the point where we're like, we could really scale if we could hire, if I could replicate myself and get other people doing what I'm doing.
I am 100% on board with hiring people. I love hiring
But
people.
I have never hired anyone before. I'm kind of like, how do you know you can trust them? How do you know, how do you handle that awkwardness of, I did hire someone one time temporarily to list things on eBay for me. It didn't really go well.
Do you need physical help or digital help?
Physical help.
Oh, okay. And I say digital, you can always try like Upwork or one of those ones.
Yeah.
They're quite good.
Yeah.
Family, people that you already trust that maybe you can bring in and stuff
my
and
whole
do
family's
stuff.
already working. I need to
People
hire
that-
someone out of the family.
You know, I would almost look into like local homeschool groups or high schools and kind of maybe interview some teens, because a lot of them come into it with just that interest and willingness to learn. Adults kind of come in and maybe a little bit jaded, and I need this and I need this and I need so much pay, or what about benefits, and kind of come in with a bit of that expectation and entitlement. But kids, a lot of kids can be considered entitled now too, but would come in probably with a little bit more openness and gratefulness to have a job that isn't McDonald's, that needs the 6 a.m. mornings or.
Could I also say, what is the, well, before I ask, what I found for me too is just like, if it's like grunt work that they don't want to do, it's like, they're just going to be doing it for the money, and that can be not very motivating or fulfilling for an employee. So if you can get clear on, I don't know what your product is, but about what it really does and what need it's really serving in the community, and really kind of drive home that mission.
Appeal to
your
the
employees.
interest side, right?
Yeah.
And the
So they feel like they're a part of something
Yeah.
greater. I think
versus
that
then
can-
just a paycheck.
Yeah, I've had better luck with employees who come on board with that mentality, and that has to start with me. But
I get a weird idea that I want it to come off as a positive thing and not like a sneaky business thing. Is that when I was in high school, I was kicked out. I wasn't allowed in the study hall anymore, and so they had to do something with me. So they sent me to the special ed room, and I worked with the kids in the special ed room. And one thing that I found out that they do is they have the kids do like kind of occupational. I think it might be considered occupational therapy. They do work for some people in the community that they have these students do that, I mean, anything from, all the, like, not report cards, but all the things that got mailed out to the kids' parents. It'd be these students that would take it from the printer, practice folding, put it in the envelope, make sure that, the return address goes here and that this, so they were using this as
It was like work experience.
as a work experience. And I'm not saying like in a way that like is taking advantage of people or anything like that, but in that case you have some teachers, there's some people that are facilitating it, you're providing some help because they're looking for things like this to do, and you can pay somebody, but that would kind of, maybe, because I'm looking to do kind of a pack and ship type business that would require somebody somewhere to be packing things, and I thought about having my mom do it. But then I was like, you know what, there must be, and I thought about this type of thing. I was like, oh, you know what? Let me see about talking to those people and see if they'd be interested in doing it. Because like my mom, I'm trying to find, like I need to unschool my mom. Because she's like, wants to retire but doesn't know what she'll do when she retires kind of thing. And so it's like, yeah, Mom, like, there's a million things you can do when you retire. Like,
So just as an add-on to that, I met friends in one country, in Mexico. They are from Estonia, and they traveled to...
Estonia. Okay.
Tiny little country. Cutest little couple. They, in one of their travels, well, they decided they wanted to start a business. So they're like, he spent hours and days and weeks on Google going, what can I sell? What can I sell? And he says, on page like 275, I had this idea, and they ended up outsourcing. They went to a farm and they found a product that they could sell from a farm in Thailand, a health product, and had it created for them. So this product, vanilla bean powder, of all things. They have this powder shipped to a warehouse in the US, and this warehouse, they currently live in Mexico, I think, last I heard. They might be back in Thailand or something right now. They have this powder shipped to a warehouse in the US, and this warehouse in the US, it's just a small home packager that he's got, like a warehouse that he's able to do this in. He pre-packages it into their 4-ounce bags or whatever, and then he ships that off to Amazon. So these kids never see this product. They've tried it, they get some, and they've tested it, but they never touch it. So it comes from Thailand to the US, goes back to Facebook, and then Amazon, then Amazon distributes it for them.
I have friends that do similar things, and from China and Taiwan, the products are
Amazing.
made there, shipped to Amazon, Amazon ships it out.
Never touch it.
no, I'm talking about
what specifically is the problem that you were having with the employee that you hired?
Well, she just didn't do the job.
She what? Sorry.
She just didn't do a very good job.
In what way?
I don't know, and I guess I was a little bit hesitant to like say, okay, no, you need to do it this way. I just kind of like sat back, and she did it, and then it was time to go, and then she would leave, and I would like redo everything myself.
So there's a communication barrier
there's
too.
communication on my part. I need to be more
Really communicate exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Do you have like a manual or a process document that you want your employees to follow?
Here's all the
Outlining
well, I don't have
everything in
employees
detail.
Right now. That was
Okay.
really just like a temporary
I
thing,
see.
just to try, because we shifted more to Amazon, so I wanted to still sell some things on eBay, but I didn't want to do it, so I thought maybe I could have her do it. So I don't know, just playing around with some ideas.
Yeah. I mean, for me, as I've hired people, I found it really helpful to have, like, especially when I'm working with people overseas, because the language and culture is different, and or some people who they don't necessarily have the tendency to think creatively. They just want to be told what to do, and you have to tell them very literally and specifically and in very good detail. And when you do, then you get it. You get it back beautifully. But if you leave out some stuff, they'll fill in the gaps with stuff that doesn't make sense.
I found physical staff was pretty hard because you're almost trying to replicate yourself, right? I had a food company for about 4 years, and so I had staff that I brought on, and I kept almost feeling like they should know what I'm asking.
Yes.
But they obviously can't, right? And so I had a hard time really actually laying out what I'm looking for, especially because I was 26, 27 at the time, and I hired 4 different women, and one stuck with me for most of that period. Another one was with me for about 1.5 years, and they were both over double my age. So I'm sitting here in my mid-20s trying to teach a 50-something-year-old woman, no, I don't want it that way. Like how to kind of navigate you're doing it wrong without saying you're doing it wrong, but then I don't know, it's just a really kind of hard field with trying to, communicate to them properly, right? Without replicating yourself, because they're never going to be exactly what you are, right?
There is a point where you have to relinquish control.
Yes.
And for me, it came after working with them for a long time. Like, first when I hired my programmers, I would go over everything that they did and double check it and correct it. And I would personally correct it sometimes, but eventually I said, I correct it for them and I show them, here's how I want it to work. Over months and months, they finally got it. And I got to the point where I'm like, you know what, I can just trust them. I'll tell them what to do and I can trust them they'll do it. Yeah. So it just took patience and time, and then since then, I mean, we're bringing on new programmers all the time for different things, and we have processes in place, so they jump in and they're ready to go. It's
almost like creating a recipe. As you're packaging your thing, you need to step 1, this is what I did. Step 2, as you're doing it, right? When I make something, if I go back half an hour later, once the item is in the oven, I don't know what the hell I put in. I just put stuff in and did it. So when you're packaging something, if you go back an hour later and go, this is what I did, you go, did I fold this first or tape this or whatever the process is you're trying to teach. You almost have to kind of write it out as you're right there.
But another tip too is, it's really easy to hire, but it's really hard to fire.
Yeah.
And so as much as you can do up front to hire good people will make such a difference.
Contractors versus employees.
Yeah, well, both even. I mean, I don't actually have any employees. Everyone who works for me is a contractor, even those that are full-time. But I recently hired a new personal assistant, and I went through 3 of them. Finally learned on the last one how to do it well. I made a 3-step process, and I had a Google form that said, basic name and info and stuff, and then I had them do some series of tasks. Like they had to jump through some hoops and answer a few questions about themselves.
For the
about their
application?
experience for the application. Yeah. And then if
I
they
think
made
I saw that. You put that on World Schoolers,
I
didn't
did,
you?
yeah. I had 50 people apply or something like that. Maybe 10 made it to 17.
From what I remember of it, it was really well written, and then the second time you came back, you corrected quite a bit, and it became even more understandable and clear.
Sorry, what was this on?
This
World Schoolers Facebook group.
Yeah, I also posted it on some of the family travel groups because I know a lot of those people who are looking for online work, like a personal assistant. And the second step, I asked more detailed questions, and I had them actually do some of the tasks that I would have them do, like write a Facebook post for this blog post that I made, and how would we share it, and or draft a letter to this person who emailed me about this, or whatever. And I just look at that, and if it looked good, and they ticked all my boxes of grammar and friendliness and everything, then they go on to the next step. And each step not just had a Google form, but it had an explanation about what I'm asking, about my values, about what they'd be working on. So anyway, it was a process that I funneled people through, but then I only ever had to interview 3 people. Yeah. And they were all good, really good people.
And they'll probably be with you for quite some time.
She's going to be with me forever. She's fantastic.
Right? Yeah.
I'm really happy with her now. Yeah.
Rather than just I'm hiring somebody and then you get them.
You can do this work, you're interested? Yeah. Okay, come on. It's not like that.
Yes, because if you hire a friend, then it becomes really awkward to find.
Definitely.
and tell them what to do too. Sometimes I feel like
Like you're not doing that right.
yeah, it's a hard thing to navigate
Yeah.
without because you don't want to hurt the friendship and there's all feelings come in.
And I laid out all the expectations too. Like I do, like you can work whatever hours you want. I was really free that way, but like I expect you to like, if you say you're going to do something at a certain time, and you should do it by that time. And if you ever don't, that's like, I can't take that. So keep your word. And I really strict expectations in some areas, and so people knew what they were getting into when they sign up. Just made it clear. So now I need to do that with the rest of my employees, and the ones I still need to get rid of. Didn't do that process.
You gonna hire somebody just to fire the ones?
Yeah. I actually have a project manager now who does most of my hiring
Yeah.
and in my music teachers helper business, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But yeah, there's a few of the management team also that I could. Yeah, I don't know. It's been difficult because over the years I've just brought on people and I've had people kind of rise up in the company and stuff. But I just realized like my values have changed a whole lot with how I want to run the company, because it started out I was just winging it and figuring it out, but now it's like I really do have a mission and I really want to improve music teachers' lives in certain ways, not just like create some software that they can use, you know? And not everyone in the company is on board with that. I could do a better job at communicating with it. I mean, this is off topic, but there's some of the things that I'm struggling with in my business right now.
So I should mention, I can't do like an entrepreneur panel without mentioning there's something called the Lean Launchpad. Ever heard? Lean Launchpad. So
Not my name. Maybe
when I was in college and you would take an entrepreneurship class, they would teach you this process of writing a business plan. And then like you take a business plan and you go raise money and you take that and you do this and it's a bunch of bullshit. And really what that was existing companies, like if you were AT&T and you were like looking to spin off a new division or do this, then you get a bunch of experts that come in and they write the business and then they put a little money in. But like a real startup company, that is not it's not the way it works. There's something that's come out in the last like few years called the Lean Launchpad, which if you go to Udacity, it's for free. There's a curriculum on there. I mean, it works a little better if you do it like through a workshop or whatever with people, but it really focuses a lot on the idea of doing what they call customer discovery, which is where you're going and you're just talking to people and interviewing people and learning about what they want and what their problems are. And because the big problem that comes up a lot, especially with engineers turned entrepreneurs, is the idea that you got this idea for this thing, it's not really solving a problem. It's great, it's cool, but you're not solving somebody's problem. It's a cool thing and it's great, but in order for someone to buy it and you to build this business, you got to have something that somebody really wants. And I've run that too with this education thing I'm working on. Part of the reason that I come here to talk to people is to really learn more about what unschoolers are doing and learn more about what they want, because if you go in there and you tell them like what it is, like if I was to tell you everything I'm working on, you would have a bias if I was to ask you about your situation. So the impulse is usually to sell, to tell, oh, guess what I'm doing this. But then the person doesn't give you their honest thing. So the more you can get really genuine feedback from people on what they want and experiment with it as much as possible. Like this, I'll give you a different example of this. I mentioned the healthy lighting, right? So one thing that I can do is a desk lamp, which is tunable, right? So the idea is a lamp that you put on your desk that you can shift the color on. So when it's nighttime, you go more orangey. When you're studying, you can do this. So it's a cool product, but what problem is it solving? So you got to go out and you find like, okay, what problem is this solving? Like, oh, it's cool, it's healthy and whatever, but okay, that's not like the problem necessarily. So what it turns out is that what's the thing that people are looking for? People are looking for, like a parent, how do I help my kids study better? Oh, so this lamp will help them study better. Oh, okay. That's a problem that they're trying to solve that this thing might help them with. So you have to make sure that you have something that's solving a problem. You don't just go and say, oh, this is healthy because it does this, this, and this. They're not thinking, how do I find a healthy lighting thing? No, they're looking for, how do I study better? Maybe, how do I sleep better? That kind of thing. So you always want to try to find an actual problem that needs to be solved. And that's a big, it sounds silly, but yeah, building a product that there's no demand for. Yeah.
A lot of people do it.
Just watch Dragon's Den.
Hmm?
Did you watch Dragon's Den or Shark's Tank?
I've
There's
seen
a lot
Shark
of
Tank.
junk on there.
Now, I'll tell you, the thing that I first started in education was sort of that. I said, oh, Khan Academy is great. People really like Khan Academy. Let's build that where kids make all the videos. Which kind of sounds really, really cool. But it is cool, but there's not necessarily a huge demand for the creators and the viewer. Like, it's not quite.
People aren't looking for that necessarily.
Yeah, there's other stuff on YouTube. Yeah, the stuff my kids make is better, but it's not quite solving a need that people are like ripping their. That's what you want, is you want someone there. So the customer interview, there's like, what's the biggest challenge you have right now? And then you say, when was the last time you looked for a solution? And that is what you want, is you want someone who has a problem that's looking for a solution to the problem. Because if you tell me, oh yeah, this is my biggest problem, and you say, when was the last time you looked for a solution? You're like, yeah, I don't know, that's not really a big problem.
That said, I think you can still, like your lamp, I mean, there's a lot of different problems you might be able to make that solve. So it's like you can spin it with your marketing message.
That's a lot of advertising, right? Yeah.
And like my business, for example, like there were no teachers looking for software to manage their business because no one had ever thought of anything like that before.
So speaking to that, you did solve a problem. It just wasn't a problem that people were
They weren't actually
realizing.
looking for it. Exactly. Yeah. So part of
and that's where the advertising turns around too.
Yes, have to educate.
So in that sense, there's this thing like I think they call it technology adoption curve, right? Which is the beginning you have early adopters, which are people that have a problem and they're looking for a solution. Boom. Then the next group of people that will adopt it is people that have a problem that aren't really looking, but they found out that there's a thing that they can do better. And the next group of people is people that didn't even realize they had a problem until they saw the solution. So there is a certain curve that you try to hit. So I'm sure that in the beginning, I mean, how'd you get your first sales? How was your first?
Just word of mouth, talking to other teachers who were
struggling with the same issue.
Yeah, well, I really.
Did you build it for yourself first?
I built it for myself. Yeah.
So you had the people to talk to.
Well, and that's where I think a lot of
good
businesses start is you're solving the problem for yourself. Like that's the aim, right? And then like you were saying, it wasn't I need to start a business. It was I want to fix this for myself.
Exactly.
And then it slowly grew from there.
I think that helps so much with the motivation
Absolutely.
too. Because if you're only making something to solve someone else's problem that you don't even know, it's like you're gonna get burned out on that eventually. You know, unless it's like this.
And that's where 5 years ago, MLM did a really good job because most of that was solving a need for themselves. And then they went, oh yeah, I guess I could share with people and make some money. Mm-hmm. Now, the huge push is people need to be entrepreneurs. You need to work for yourself. So you need to sell MLM. So buy my product. I don't really care about it, but buy it because I need to make money. Yeah. So it's kind of shifted now in the last few years.
So now that you mentioned marketing, so in addition to selling on Amazon, I write books. How can I market my books?
What's the book about? What's the book?
So my first two books were fiction with unschooled characters. There aren't a lot out there, but my main characters are unschoolers. And my third book is a book that explains unschooling to grandparents and other concerned family members.
So Amazon, right? They're on Amazon?
They are on Amazon.
I would be reaching out to blogs.
Yeah.
Bloggers?
Yeah. And offer them a copy in exchange for a review, or Northern Florida has a really large unschooling community, and they have co-ops and large groups of families to get together and their kids do stuff. So maybe approaching one of them and saying, I've got here's a book. It's about unschooled kids. Would you maybe have a use? Because they do classes that anybody can sign up for, and maybe try to get them into community groups that do involve unschoolers.
Okay.
Facebook groups.
You can't
hunt down unschooled bloggers.
Yeah.
The idea that you're just going to post something and then everyone's just going to show up at it.
I'll post on Facebook. And
you have to jump out to them.
Amazon, and if they like it, they can have it. They can take it. I'm not going to bother them. That's my attitude. I know I have to get over that.
So an event like this.
Yes.
Anne was putting out that you can do. She was doing the selling bazaar. I actually brought stickers with me. I just haven't. I've been too busy talking with people to sit.
Selling bazaar?
So you can just come and advertise whatever, talk about, sell whatever you want. But you could have, if in future events, you can always ask. Don't ask. You have to create the opportunity and don't expect it to come to you. But ask and say, I have this book that I've written. Could I come and bring 10 copies and sit at the registration table? Can I come and bring 10 copies and sit at lunch at the end of the hallway and maybe people will be interested? Is there a 15 minutes on the calendar where I could read it to some kids? The Littles Layer. Can I come into the Littles Layer and sit and, so just to kind of jump and put yourself into it and not wait for people to come to you because they're not going to.
I do have to get more assertive because like I did, and told me I could sell my books.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, I didn't know where to go. So I just kind of like have them sit in my room. I don't know.
So you sit at a table and talk to people.
Yeah.
And with the internet, you got to think about it if you want to do internet marketing, really think about this idea of you've got this thing out here that you want people to buy, right? You want them to buy it. And you have all these people out here, so you need to match up this and this. So what is it that people are searching for that you believe your book will solve? So that you can figure out, okay, they're looking, maybe you then know what they're typing in. So like the grandparents thing, I have a better idea of who's looking for that and what they might search for. The fiction about unschooling kids, I don't know.
So it's
I
where
don't know who
Google keyword search would come in.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are Googling,
searching.
books with fictional characters about, I don't know. But the first one, the grandparent one, is more obvious to me. But again, if it's for the grandparent, you've got to put yourself in the seat of a parent or a grandparent and figure out what are they searching for. So give me a silly idea.
Parents buying it for the grandparents more than the grandparents buying it, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so
Yeah.
it's something that you can hand to your
Yes.
parents and say, here, read this and I'll answer any questions that come up from it.
Have you done?
I mean, it's not probably to be published probably within a few weeks, but
Yeah.
and I am doing a talk tomorrow.
Have you done
Oh,
copies,
cool.
like handed copies out to get reviews on Amazon to help build your club?
I haven't yet, no.
That's a big one too.
And I kind of don't want to, I have this thing, I don't want to be too pushy. I don't want to annoy people. I don't
You
want
have to
bother
be.
people.
You have to put yourself out though. You don't have to be
Yeah.
pushy, but people don't know, right?
It's just educating them.
Yeah.
And I would say do it consistently too. It's not just I'm going to post it once and that's good enough, but like every week at least, maybe every day, have something that
Yeah.
you're posting about the book, a different aspect of it, something that is.
So I think Jerry's a good example with his water.
Yes.
I know
Everyone
this,
knows he does
but
that.
I know
Yes.
the story behind all of that because I've been watching other entrepreneurs. So like I haven't asked too much, but if you watch his Facebook, he's not. Many other marketers go. So he has this alkalized water machine that does stuff to water. So I'll let him sell it if you're interested. You can talk to him about it. He's got lots of information. But he's really good at how he presents it. He doesn't go buy my water, buy my machine, buy this because it's better, do it all. He on his Facebook every now and then he'll post something about check out how clean these grapes got. And it's here and there, but it's educating. It's not buy my machine, it's look what I got out of it. And then he'll post something about pesticides or whatever. And then a few days later, he came into the group here and said, hey, I've got this. Anybody wants some water? It's free. Come at me. You can try it. It's all good. And then when you go and you ask him for water, he's not going, here, buy it. You have to check this out because I've got this machine. He's going, here you go.
Yeah.
Do you want to see it? Because it's here and you can see it. But I'm not going to make you. And so he does a really good job at educating and putting it out there and giving you the opportunity without saying, here.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just kind of learning a lot about that. Any business at all, you need Gary Vaynerchuk is a great guy to
Oh,
kind
Gary
of
V.
get into. I love him.
Okay. Yeah.
His material is great. I don't know if I like the guy, but what he has to
He's
say is
likable,
valuable.
though.
It's very valuable.
He's a very likable guy because he's so I don't give a fuck.
I
do what I do.
Sometimes I think he's like pushing his intensity at me.
But I think it's been
But the content, what
marketed
he's
to be
teaching,
such.
I know, but I'm like, there's something.
But
some
it's
of it doesn't feel
motivating.
like
It's-
it
it's
is, but he's a little bit.
Serving the purpose that he's trying to hit is what he's doing.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like, oh, I don't know. It's you can feel
I
motivated
watch it
and
because
get
the
out of it.
information
Exactly,
is really
it's
useful.
great.
So like, watch it, use it.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, sometimes the marketing, those marketing videos, I get that they're trying to get you a concept. And I kind of get the concept they're trying to get you, but then I'm left with, but I don't know what to do now. I don't get the practical.
The problem and the solution route is what I kind of take is, what is it that I think the problem I'm solving is? And then, where are people looking for a solution?
So
And
kind of end
get
game
my
and then
butt
work
there
backwards.
to where they're looking for the solution.
physically or online?
Either one.
Yeah.
But be the solution when they are looking for that solution.
I mean, if we're talking physically, get into bookstores. Start
Yeah.
shopping around, local bookstore, like to put your face there and say, can I come in and bring, I don't know the process of getting a book stocked in a bookstore, but
I would say
however
that
you go about that, but
your tips are, I think the ones about the going to the communities, the co-ops and the groups, because a bookstore, I don't know if as many people at a regular bookstore, you got a
Absolutely,
niche,
yeah.
like you got to go, like she said, to bloggers, like the mommy bloggers and the bloggers, like send them
Unschoolers,
copies,
yeah.
unschool, like those are the people that want what you got.
you want to get into the
Yeah.
niche that you're targeting,
Yeah.
right? Because those are the people that are going to see what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just need to get more bold.
I mean, look at I'm here,
Actually,
right?
yeah.
I came here because this is where the people are that
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying to
really amazing.
sell something
Like
for.
I would never do something like that.
But I
Well,
feel
you're
like
here, and these are the
I'm
people
here.
you're trying to help.
I
Like
know,
you're
yeah.
doing it. What do you mean you never? You're already
I'm
doing it. You're
yes,
sitting
it's-
here.
I'm beginning to do it, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk would be a good one to help you own that confidence.
Yeah, someone else just recommended him to me the other
Right.
day, so I'll have to check
I
him out.
recommend him to everybody. There's something I don't
I love
about
listening
it.
to him.
Yeah.
You know who else I really like? And he's good not so much for the full-on business side, but the psychology of things is Simon Sinek.
Oh yeah, really good. Him I
Yeah.
really like. Yeah.
Fascinating to watch. He's
Yeah.
got a TED Talk. He is just fascinating to watch. I do audiobooks, so to listen to him, he's just got the voice that you want to listen to. And his material is catching. Like, you're in it, and you get to hear the psychology behind a little bit of the
Yeah.
sales and the marketing and how people
That's good.
think. One of his big lines is people buy people. So it kind of talks about how you want to look at things, how you want to think with doing some of the advertising and stuff like that. Definitely recommend him. Start with the TED Talk.
What do they call it? The power of why?
Simon
or something?
Sinek. Yeah, start with why.
Start with why. That's the name of the talk. Start with
Yeah.
why.
So the premise is, so he comes in and he says, Apple comes out, and they don't come out and come at you with, I have this phone, you need to buy it. It's, you want music, I have a way for you to listen to your music. It also does phone calls. It also, you can play games. So they kind of build on that need, like you were talking about, and then build on it. His last name is Sinek. And the Gary Vaynerchuk TV,
Ask Gary V.
Ask Gary
Yeah.
V, is probably the better place to be because he really focuses on questions people ask and real questions from real people that they have in business versus just talking, right? Like he doesn't just come up on stage then and talk. Well, he's amazing at that. But the TV show or his podcast, his YouTube show really hits specific questions, and he'll talk for a minute about each question people have actually asked him. Worthwhile people to look into.
What was that name again?
Which one?
The last one.
Gary
Gary V.
Vaynerchuk. Yeah, V. His last name is Vaynerchuk.
We just hit 8 o'clock, so I think.
Nobody's popped in yet, but Ken's supposed to be here to do his talk because the movie, I think, is that one, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, movie's in the first one, and then
Okay.
Ken's supposed to be in here.
All right.
So, what's your blog?
So I'm thetravelingblizzards.com. Traveling has 2 L's. I don't know if that's because I'm Canadian or what, but it's not always the way it is. And then the one coming up, it's not live yet, but it's Live Cheap, Travel Often. I am prided, or people know me as a deal hunter. I find cheap things a lot.
I just do jim-flannery.com.
I bought AmandaBlizzard.com, but it just seemed too boring. I had
Oh
to
no,
go
I've
something else.
actually, partly through Gary Vee, I've started to get into this idea of personal branding.
Yeah.
And then I have people buying like who you are. Like I've really tried to, like you mentioned the idea of like you should build the product that you want. Like when I look at the things I've done, it's like shit, like I am always trying to build stuff for other people. I think the only thing that I do that I maybe build for myself is I do stand up.
Yeah.
Like that is like for me. Like this is my shit. This
That's
is
why
my stage. Like this is like that's for me.
That's why I'm building a taco blog.
Yeah.
So are you trying
Tacos
to
are
monetize
magic.
your blogs?
Yeah, I actually I have a very good friend of mine that I met in Mexico, Playa del Carmen. While we were down there, she travels the world. She's been to like 38 some countries. Just got married, and she has been running a blog for I think she started it 6 years ago and has been or 4 years ago and has been working hard at it for about 2.5, and she has crossed 6 figures a year. So she's now put out a blog to teach, or a course to teach people how to do that, and I've joined in on that. I just haven't had the time to sit and focus and do it. So I will be. That's my Mexico project.
What's her blog?
Hers is travel fashion girl. So her niche that she started in, she started traveling and she went, I'm a woman, how do I pack? Google is no help. There is nothing out there to teach a woman how to pack. All these capsule wardrobes that were out there with 15 items were all specifically for men. So men could figure out how to pack small, but women were like totally lost. So she started and hit this niche and jumped in and started creating her blog, and now she has 6 writers on there. She does speaking engagements all over the world. She gets sponsored travel all over the world. Very, very good blogger, very nice woman. She just recently got married. Her husband's a doll. Just great people. So very easy to follow and easy to try to learn from. And then she also has one called workliveandtravel.com. And that one's got good money saving trips for travel and just how to kind of work. She's a digital nomad, of course, so she just travels a lot, or shares a lot about that as well.
Man, you're making me wonder about, like, I'm working in education, like, what am I getting out of it? You know, am I building that for me? Like, what do I get out of it? I gotta get back into the healthy lighting stuff.
How are you going to be in 3 years?
Yes,
Is
I
there gonna be
want the
passion
healthy
for you?
lights, so go and make them.
Well, I mean, they exist. I don't.
Yeah.
That's one thing about that is I can't get a patent on it.
They exist, he's just not going to tell you the website.
No, I can tell you
You
what
gotta
you
wait
want.
a year.
You want a desk lamp? You want a floor lamp? You want to refit a building? You know, I mean, one place that I do have a passion for doing that is in psych hospitals, because I've gotten myself in trouble. I've gotten locked up a few times and thrown in those places, and I think that's very uncool that people get locked up.
Come on in.
And they're supposed to be getting healthier, and the lighting is really unhealthy.
It's the worst.
So that's a particular area that I'd like to, bring healthy lighting into. But I look at like nursing homes. Like I was in there with my grandma, like for the last months of her life. The light, it was horrible. Prisons, people are locked in there, supposed to be getting better, and they get
Hospice.
Like hospice.
But what about, like, going down a different route? I find my children don't sleep because of the computer longer.
So, wasn't there something recently released?
Right. So this is very cool. So it's the blue. There's 2 things.
Yeah.
Blue light makes you awake. Being on your damn thing also like just stimulates your brain, but it's the blue light. So like they've had for a long time F.lux, F-lux is software you can put on your computer that's free that'll remove the blue at night. They used to have it on the phone, and then Apple came out with their own night mode. So now iPhones you can do it. But yeah, F.lux. And you could remove the blue from your computer screen at least.
He's making the signal wrap it up.
Oh, right.
Done.
Well, we just,
That's
yeah, that's cool.
Any
Cool.
last questions or thoughts?
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Wait a week.
Begin.
All right. Hey,